Well, those first few weeks are really intense. One of the most intense experiences I've ever gone through, honestly. The culture here, it's very welcoming, like people here are really friendly. My project actually wound up winning the award for my category. I wound up winning a college Emmy, which was a really surreal and amazing experience.
My name is Ben Waddell, and I'm sitting here on the 23rd of August with Eli Leban. He is a former SIT student. He was here in the fall of 2016, and he's now back in Nicaragua, and we're going to talk a little about his experience in Nicaragua, what brought him here, and what he's up to now in Nicaragua in this short podcast. So let's get started. Can you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself and how you first got interested in Nicaragua?
I'm from Philly, and I went to school. I just graduated from Temple University, which is also in Philly. I'm a media studies and production major, a Spanish minor, and my area of expertise is video production. I actually switched majors from a psychology major and fell into video production after kind of meandering a bit at the beginning of college, and I really started to enjoy it, being able to tell stories by combining images and sounds in a compelling way to make things relatable that may not seem so obviously relatable at first across cultures and social barriers, and that's kind of what I'm about. So I had been struggling to learn Spanish for years through high school and college from taking classes, and it was always something I really wanted to learn just to be able to navigate across that barrier and diversify the types of opportunities that I could be open to. And that's kind of, I wanted to study abroad in a Spanish-speaking country when I was a senior in college. And I was really looking for somewhere in a less traveled location. I wanted to go to a non-traditional location because as a video producer, I was really interested in finding stories that hadn't necessarily been done before, or doing stories that could potentially have a real impact, which is just easier to do in a country that is less exposed, that has less people going there and doing stuff. I was really interested in Nicaragua. I had really no idea about what life is like there. I was interested in finding out more, and I saw that the program was focused on media, which is my area, and it seemed like an easy choice when I found it. It's kind of just what I was looking for.
As a student who is struggling to learn Spanish, you chose a very non-traditional setting to study abroad. What were your initial impressions of Nicaragua? What were those first few weeks like?
Well, those first few weeks are really intense. One of the most intense experiences I've ever gone through, honestly. I think Nicaragua is a great place to learn Spanish for a few reasons. First of all, people around here, they don't speak English. It's not like there's certain other Latin American countries where generally people have a very elementary English ability, so if you forget a word, you might be able to kind of cheat it a bit, and Nicaragua's not like that. A lot of people can't speak one word of English, and in that sense, you really are forced to use it every day. And also with the host family, I felt like I was completely immersed. I felt like it was all Spanish all the time, and from my very basic ability to speak Spanish that I was coming in with, it was very jarring. It was shocking. Like, I really couldn't do anything for myself at the beginning. I felt like a little kid again. Everyone had to slow down when they talked to me, and it was excruciating because I could tell that my host family, the people I was meeting, I could tell they were like very nice people, and they really wanted to make sure I had a good time, and I wanted to tell them about myself and express my personality and like tell jokes and what have you, but I couldn't do it. It's very mental. It takes a lot of mental energy. I had to rest a lot, and I didn't realize it when I came in how much energy it takes to just operate in Spanish. But it was like a brick wall at first, but just from being constantly in that environment, slowly but surely you manage to, I don't even know how, honestly, but from just really making an effort to go out and live in Spanish, you slowly but surely are able to navigate until by the end of the semester I was a very confident Spanish speaker. I was traveling independently. I was interviewing, and actually just took a language aptitude test for a Fulbright application I'm doing. I scored advanced on it, which is pretty cool to me because I'm pretty sure I was at least basic when I came in.
So, I mean, you went from being a student who was struggling with Spanish to being an advanced speaker who was thinking about a Fulbright application in the Latin American region. What are some of the experiences from that semester that stood out for you and really made that experience, really helped you springboard into being more confident as a speaker and just in general with, navigating culturally Nicaragua and Latin America?
As I was started to say before, I think why Nicaragua specifically is a great place to learn Spanish. And one of the reasons is because there's very little presence of English, but another is that the culture here, it's very welcoming, like people here are really friendly, very simple. People are very interested in you, they're interested in you and they want you to know about them. And just as a country, as a society, it's been through so many very difficult times and catastrophic events, and this country's been through so much and it has such amazing stories that it's, in my opinion, it's really hard not to get wrapped up in the people, just all the crazy things that have happened here and just learn about it. And even before you're able to speak, you can form friendships across language barriers even before you can fully understand each other. And I had that experience with people like my host brother, my host mom, certain people I met with common interests. Like you can tell when you hit it off with somebody, even if you can't understand exactly what they're saying, and maybe you exchange phone numbers, you agree to like hang out later, or like they take you somewhere or what have you. And even, this is how it happens, in my opinion, just from hanging out. And it's okay not to be able to speak Spanish sometimes. People are accepting of that. They realize they're learning. And they also, a lot of people respect the fact that you chose to learn here, because there is this feeling that Nicaragua doesn't have as much exposure as some other locations. So people are just really interested in showing you around and hitting it off and making friends.
And what were some of the experiences that you had as a student here in Nicaragua that are kind of highlights for you in that time that you spent here?
All of the excursions that we took were all very amazing in their own way. It was great. Well, first of all, my host family in Managua was amazing. Some of the people I was closest to during the course of the program, the ones who I was with the most, to really help me grow in terms of my ability and all that. Also in the campo, it was great just living with a rural family and having a completely different pace of life and learning the separate challenges that go there. And I got pretty close to my host father. I wound up making a video profile of him. And obviously the coast, when we went to the coast, I met a lot of people who were also interested in using media production to give exposure to underreported stories, which wound up becoming the basis for my ISP. And through that collaboration that happened, I made a project that got a lot of local recognition that has led to a ton of opportunities, which has definitely probably been my single biggest takeaway for my semester.
And maybe you can tell us more about that project. So you go to the coast on excursion, you spend some time there, you're inspired to go back, you go back for your ISP. What did you specifically work with? What were you trying to capture? What was the purpose of the work that you were doing on the coast?
We spent a couple days in a village called Orinoco, which is a center for the Garifuna people. They're an ethnic group on the coast. I just had this goal of leaving every excursion having made at least one video. I think we had a creative assignment, but I wasn't really thinking about that. I was mostly just doing it to do it. And I did a short 1-minute video in a day. I went around this village and did a 1-minute kind of Facebook style video with different people's faces teaching how to count from 1 to 10 in Garifuna, which is an endangered language. And I edited it together and I put it up on Facebook, and I thought it was a cool thing, but it was just kind of a personal project. I didn't come into it with any expectations, really. So I posted it and actually managed to send it back to some people I'd met in Orinoco and share it with people in the coast. And it started blowing up. It started getting shared all over the place among Nicaraguans and some foreigners too. And I saw comments under the video. Everyone, I realized that a lot of people had never seen this type of video used in their community before to promote culture preservation. There's a familiarity with social media videos. Like people everywhere have Facebook and share things and all that, but no one had really, I got the sense at least, that a lot of people hadn't used the platform for this kind of promotion of culture preservation. So I see all the comments growing and people are like, oh my God, I'm in LA, like this is my home, this is my town, I'm gonna show my mom, she's gonna be so happy to see this. Or like somebody else is like, oh, that girl who says the number 3, that's my cousin, I'm so proud of her, this is all the stuff she's doing right now, I'll tell you all about her. Like it was a really cool experience, and it kind of gave me a sense that this was tapping into something very powerful. And I wanted to keep pursuing that for my independent project at the end of the semester, which wound up being a series of videos similar to that first one, in various different ethnic communities dealing with different languages.
I want to come back to some of that work because that ties into what you're doing here in Nicaragua right now. But I want to ask you more generally, walking away from the semester, if at all, how did you think about the world differently after your time in Nicaragua?
First of all, just learning about a culture that I really had zero idea about going in, knowing I had zero idea about it, and just arriving here and being here to learn and not knowing anything to start off and just learning it all from scratch. Learning the language physically as well. I mean, the climate I'm coming from is pretty different from here. So in the U.S. and in any country, we're very used to looking at the world from a certain cultural perspective. And when you come to somewhere like Nicaragua and also Cuba especially, that's had a very different kind of relationship with the country that I come from, it was so interesting to get that other perspective and learn how, you know, the way that my society works affects the way that other people's society works, and see it firsthand instead of just hearing and speculating about it. Being able to enter a dialogue with people that really want to create more of a conversation in between, you know, these different cultures that really doesn't, in my opinion, doesn't happen enough. Also from specifically the project on the coast, learning that how to form a collaboration across coming from different cultures and with different abilities, but wanting the same thing, and being able to navigate that collaboration and wind up with something, with a project that's powerful that I think neither party could have achieved on their own. I think those are two of the most important things that I learned, among a lot of others as well.
In the last few months, I've seen a lot of pictures of you in suits and ties and on stages, and you won an Emmy, among other things. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about what you've been up to since that semester concluded and since you went back to the U.S. and kind of, you know, the short story of how you got back to Nicaragua as well.
Absolutely. So when I finished the semester, I had these videos, and I published them, and I put a lot of effort into spreading them around, letting my school know about it, that I did this project. You want to run it on the channel, the university TV channel. Sent it to you know, people that I've interned or worked for before, like, hey, you know, I've been in Nicaragua, I did this interesting project, I thought you might be interested, here's some videos, just check them out. Family, friends. I wanted everybody to see it, because in my mind, the original motivation behind doing this was to get people to see it and learn about the issues and spread awareness. So I put a lot of work into spreading them around, including submitting them, entering them into festivals and contests, one of which was the College Emmys, which is a national competition, really competitive, but it's free to enter. So I really just entered them, not really, again, having any expectations. And lo and behold, it wound up getting nominated in the unscripted series category, the series of videos I made, which got me a trip to LA for the ceremony with all the finalists from all over the country. And my project actually wound up winning the award for my category. It wound up winning a College Emmy, which was a really surreal and amazing experience. And really kind of, I think, gives tangible evidence about how universal and relatable this story is. Even if you're not from the Caribbean coast of Nicaragua, you can still relate to the struggle of, you know, maintaining your culture. I think that's important. Since then, I was able to present the project at an international conference in Colombia that my school helped hook me up with kind of media academics from all over the world. And because of the local interest in the project, I was approached by some culture preservation people from Nicaragua who wanted me to come back and make more, because they feel that there's a huge need for audiovisual material. So I was able to turn that into a proposal for the Alice Rowan Swanson Fellowship, which I wound up winning, and it's giving me right now an amazing opportunity to should I stop?
Classic background noise in Managua.
Right. So I was able to turn this idea into a proposal for the Alice Rowan Swanson Fellowship from SIT, which is geared towards a human rights project, which was perfect for this, and I wound up winning it, and it's given me an amazing opportunity to come back and continue working, expanding the project. So that's why I'm here now, and I'm really excited.
And so, what specifically will we be doing? You'll be heading to the Atlantic coast, to the Caribbean coast, La Costa Caribe, as they say here in Nicaragua now. You'll be there for 3 months. What do you plan to do in those 3 months?
I'm going to be working with several different organizations that deal with culture preservation, language, and environmental issues to make a whole lot of a bunch of different videos and audiovisual content. And we have some ideas about what we're doing right now, which will be finalized when I go and are actually able to meet people face to face. But some things that we've been kicking around are I'll be working specifically with the Rama Language Institute at Huracan, some of which include we want to do a video, like a sing-along video for kids with indigenous lyrics in the endangered language Rama. Also videos pertaining to indigenous plant knowledge, medicines, stuff like that, which they call agroecologia. And I'll be working with Blue Energy as well, which is a kind of an environmental organization, to do some materials on Corn Island about sustainable development and also Bluefield Sound System. I'm donating a bunch of equipment, studio and camera equipment that I was able to get with the fellowship money, so that hopefully we'll be able to kind of start some workshop type media production, storytelling programs. And I'm excited. So we got a lot of stuff on the table and a lot of stuff that could happen. So
cool.
Looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to seeing how the project goes and hearing more about it. I'm sure there'll be a lot of videos to come, and I'm sure it'll be the type of thing that really gives back to communities, which kind of leads to my last question. In your perspective, what do you think the role of media should be in trying to help preserve cultures and languages around the world?
Well, I think that media is a versatile form that can help achieve several different things in terms of culture preservation. I think there's like 3 main points that I think that media can really help with. One of them obviously is spreading awareness, like the cross-cultural interaction, especially with areas like the Caribbean coast. There's such a lack of integration, lack of media presence, that a lot of people in other regions just don't know about it, just because they never see it. And I think a very important aspect of social media and making cool videos and stuff is to get people to know about it in the first place. Interact with people just even in the comments section, costeños and people from the Pacifico or whatever, having a conversation. That doesn't always happen, and it doesn't have to be that way. I think media can be one way to help with that. Also, just the act of recording somebody counting to 10 in a language, or doing some custom, or talking about a plant and what it means to the culture. If the culture is endangered, if this is something that's being lost, just the act of recording it is significant. If nobody else is out there recording it, once it disappears, it's gone. And I think that's another obvious point that media can come into play with culture preservation. And also, in terms of the reciprocity aspect, if you're able to make a video with educational validity and send it back and provide the community with an educational tool to aid in the preservation effort, I think that's another important aspect. A lot of times in these communities with endangered languages, the only people that know them well enough to speak are older, and maybe their teaching methods are a little old school, and it might be hard for kids to get interested. That's just one example. But that can be a situation where having this audiovisual content, videos, and things to get people interested can really help with the actual preservation effort. And even better when there's a mutual collaboration, and there's a table that people from the community, people like me who are coming from outside but have the technical skills and the resources to accomplish these things, are having a dialogue and deciding what is in the best interest of the community in order to, again, achieve the goal and make materials with value that kind of surpass what either party could do on their own. I think that's the ultimate goal.
Kind of wrapping this out, you're a psych major, you ended up turning towards media studies in college, you come to Nicaragua, you leave, bilingual with an interest in Latin America. Where does your path take you next after you kind of phase out of the project on the coast? Do you think you'll continue with this type of work?
Yeah, well, it's been a wild ride so far. The last couple of years have been crazy, and I haven't been able to foresee anything that has happened. It's all been very spur of the moment. It's kind of still the case right now. I have no idea what's going to happen necessarily after these 3 months, but right now I'm busy applying for fellowships, for the coming year, like obviously Fulbright. I do want to keep going with this project and see how far it can go. I'm definitely interested in continuing to develop on the coast of Nicaragua and also exploring the possibility of kind of replicating it somewhere else because there's so many areas where these issues are happening. I guess we'll see. Only time will tell, but I have a good feeling about it. This project has definitely, surpassed any expectation I had, and I'm really happy with it. So I have a good feeling.
Well, I'd like to thank you for sitting down with us, and I think with that we'll sign off from SIT Nicaragua.
Cool. Thanks for having me.
Thanks.